This is the story of two former African-American slaves who were freed in the 1840s and became prominent, wealthy business owners in a predominantly white society. It's a special story, one that is documented with historic records and, what's really rare, portraits. Told by Julie Kemper, curator of object learning at the Kentucky Historical Society. It's called Portraits of Freedom.
Well, one of the best parts of my job is when people bring us their history. They come in with things that belong to their grandparents or, aunts and uncles, and they feel like it's important to them. So that also makes it important to us. Viola Gross is a great-great-granddaughter of Dennis and Dedamia Dorham. She really enjoyed researching her family. While Viola was doing her genealogy research, she was contacted by a cousin. He was selling one of the original Dorham farms, and in the barn, they found two portraits. And luckily, the names Dennis and Dedamia were on the back side of those portraits. Dennis Dorham started his life as a slave, and his owner, General Thomas Barbie, was also his grandfather. The will of Thomas Barbie freed both Lydia and all of her children, but there were some stipulations. One was that they would not be freed until they were older, so the daughters were freed at age 26, and the sons were freed at age 31. The Barbie will also stated that all of the children would be educated. They would learn reading and writing, and the boys would also be taught arithmetic. Now, Dennis was only a year old when the will was created. So you think about it, he had to wait 30 years to be able to gain his freedom. But he didn't waste his time. He also was able to go out and work for himself some. So we know that when he was freed, he already had work experience outside of the farm. And we also know that he did gain wealth. So he had something to start with. Dedamia was born in Missouri and didn't start life as a Kentuckian, but she was also a slave. She was owned by Moses Bloodsoe. Now, her mother was Bloodsoe's slave as well, but her father was actually a free Black in St. Louis. Dedamia's father, as a free Black, did own his own labor, so he was able to make money and save it. In 1814, he actually purchased his wife and all of his children. We don't know exactly how Dedamia and Dennis met. The community of African Americans, especially free Blacks, would be a fairly small and closely knit one. So even though they were several miles away, it's likely that they came to know each other through that larger free Black community. Because Dennis and Dedamia were building their businesses and their wealth and their families in the 1830s and 40s, they had a little bit of advantage over free Blacks later on. Despite obstacles, it's clear that Dennis Dorham was able to make relationships in the business community. We know that he built a hemp business, had a hemp farm, and eventually had a rope factory. We also know that he and Dedamia started buying property. They owned houses in downtown Danville, and over time, they accumulated over 300 acres within the county. Dennis and Dedamia married in 1830, and so the portraits completed in 1839 were just really a short time into their very long marriage. If you think about 19th century portraits, this is before photography. And so the only way to get your likeness is to go to an artist. Patrick Henry Davenport was a well-known portrait artist regionally. And Patrick Henry Davenport actually put on the back of the portraits not only the name of those who sat there, but also how old they were at the time that he completed the portraits. And the Dorhams went to him asking for this very expensive service. So it tells you a little bit about their own wealth, about their position in society, that they would go to a white portrait artist. The story of Dennis and Dedamia Dorham is extraordinary, not only because they were extraordinary people who had to face many obstacles to reach the American dream, but also because it is so rare to have the portraits of Americans in the 1830s, as well as documentation that gives us such a rich view of their lives. It's worth seeing in person. Come see the portraits. Today, we are lucky that we have this rich collection, both the portraits and the archival materials that tell us this rich story, that tell us this important story. And it's just a glimpse into one part of Kentucky's history.
This is just one of many stories that can be heard and experienced only in Kentucky.